Nope. Well, it's been a while since I updated on the little truck, and the reason for that is I've been making little short clips of things that I've been dealing with that I knew that it needed, and well, the issue is I didn't know what I was doing. I'm a good enough mechanic. I've been working on stuff since I was a kid, but this vehicle is new to me. I've never owned anything that I worked on that was new enough to even have an EGR valve. So I've been learning a lot of things, and I didn't want to make video about me learning stuff because, well, the internet's already full enough of people who don't know what they're talking about. I try not to add to that. Anyway, being a 1985 model, I always kind of had a 1974 or prior rule myself, because that's when they started adding on all the things. But I'm a few weeks in, just picking off things that I knew needed done: spark plug wires, alternator belt, you know, things that you can look at and physically know. But I've owned this truck for about 6 years, so you know, I know quite a bit about what it needs as far as basic mechanical stuff. But being a modern vehicle that actually has a computer and all the sensors and things, I had to go get a reader. And I'll tell you, after going through this and seeing how it all works, man, it makes great sense. And my prejudice against vehicles this modern was actually kind of self-defeating. I mean, I cut myself out on some pretty cool stuff. It makes really good sense to me in the digital age to have sensors in your fuel and exhaust systems and a computer operating your systems, injecting the fuel, doing all the mixtures and things, versus, you know, messing with carburetors and all of that. But anyway, let's kind of get caught up to where I'm at on this and move forward a little bit, and we'll start with this. When I was younger and driving vehicles that I had to work on was more of a, you know, common thing. It wasn't really even a thought that I could get a reader for 20 bucks, you know, let alone off something like Amazon. But anyway, that kind of kept me out of that game. You know, they kind of tried to keep all the computerization and stuff kind of proprietary. You know, you had to go to dealers or whatever, so it pretty much kept me out of the game, because I just, you know, if you want your proprietary property, you keep your proprietary property. Anyway, this is the air box of this little Ford. And if you've got a 1985 Ford Ranger 2.3, this is the air box, the wiper motor. These plugs are stashed right back here. It took me a while to figure that out, to plug into the reader. And anyway, I pulled codes. I got a code for a O2 sensor. So I got one of these uber cool wrenches for the O2 sensor, and then that happened. Well, that escalated quickly. So I bought the little wrench for pulling the O2 sensor, and I'm sure that's just the thing for putting in a new one, but it's not so much for getting out one that's either been in too long or maybe was put in without the anti-seize compound. I came out here 2 afternoons in a row, messing around, putting as much heat in there as I dared to, because I didn't really want to start a fire in my engine compartment. I hate cleaning up after fire and flood, so since I really didn't know what I was doing anyway, because I've never handled a sensor before, I never got to break one open and see how they're made, I just didn't know what I was dealing with. I decided to go ahead and just pull that manifold out, which led to a string of problems, you know, just like my buddy said it would, but it's not like I didn't know. It ain't like I've never pulled a manifold before. But they were betting on broken bolts from the manifold into the engine, which did not happen. Those looked great, but I just ran into all the other problems that you could. The flange bolts did not want to come out, and being under there with heat is fine, but there's only so much heat I felt like I wanted to deal with under there before I was risking a fire, you know, so it was just too much. So I just sawed the pipe, the head pipe, you know, and I'll fix my exhaust later. But anyway, let's have a look at the O2 sensor and the manifold after I got it out and see where we're at on this thing. So I came out on 2 separate afternoons and followed all the, you know, common ideas about removing an O2 sensor, and it went very well, as you can see. And I'm just not that patient in my old age, so I decided I would just pull the exhaust manifold, and I got lucky. None of those bolts were rotten. They all look pretty much new, in fact. And so those all came out great. Then it came time to pull the flange, and so I went and borrowed an impact driver from a buddy, an electric impact. That's actually a very good little tool there, that Snap-on electric impact. And you can see that that didn't work either. And you know, I was heating this stuff and doing all the right things, and it just was not going to work. So, being a torch guy, I don't care. I can build an exhaust. It's a straight run from here, so I just used a Sawzall and cut the head pipe off and removed my manifold. And ultimately, it's really good that I did, in spite of these problems, because, you know, I'm building a truck for reliability and efficiency. But someone had put this together without the gasket between the manifold and the head. And that strikes me as very odd. That cannot be right. And it's probably a really good thing that I didn't drive this much in the 6 years or so that I've owned it. There's no damage. It wasn't trying to blow out anywhere or anything. But anyway, bottom line is I'm about to try to get all of this taken apart using a lot of heat. And every trick I know to get this stuff apart, all in the interest of saving this manifold, and I either will or I won't, and if I don't, then I'll just replace it. I'll let you know how it turns out in a minute. So I'll just be doing some pretty typical parts cleaning on this and prep for getting it put back together, and I'll be able to speak with some authority on putting it back together versus just the typical cussing that was going on while I was learning to take all of this apart. The code reader gave me a throttle position sensor code, and I don't know how well you can see that, but the throttle body is very dirty. That's going to have to be taken off and cleaned. EGR valve is very clearly blocked. If we look real quick at this stub that I pulled out, you can see that I had a very rich running condition that I was aware of, which is why I bought the code reader. And if you wonder what one of these looks like after you break it off, it's got some porcelain crap in it. I don't know what that's all about. Anyway, I'll see you soon. Ooh, is my torch still running?